So, video game Dunkey made a video on Armored Core. Dunkey is a very large and popular YouTuber, and in his video he criticized Armored Core, basically saying that the game is too easy. His issue with the game was that once he found a build that worked, it worked far too well, and he continued to use that build for the whole game. He made a tank tread dual Gatling build. Now yesterday I made a video talking about my thoughts on Armored Core 6. It wasn't a review. It wasn't a review because I didn't have any complaints. And it's not really a review if I can't complain about it. But in the comments to that video, I had a lot of people pointing out Dunkey's video and the points that he made in it. Like this comment here. Here's a universally agreed upon criticism about Armored Core 6 that's pretty hard to ignore. Dual Gatling guns and songbirds literally make every other build obsolete. It's too easy to rank your way through the game with those weapons and it gets boring fast. There's a lot of comments like that that are variations of that same point. That the game is too easy if you use overpowered weapons and builds. So today I want to talk about this because the topic touches on a lot of things that I've been meaning to discuss. Things that extend beyond just Armored Core. First of all, let's take that main criticism to the side and we'll get back to it. That main criticism seems to be that Armored Core is poorly balanced. Before I get to that, I want to point a couple things out. First, let's talk about Mogh in Elden Ring. I like Mogh. Mogh is one of my favorite bosses. I found his boss fight to be the perfect level of difficulty. Very hard, but also one of the best examples of how these boss fights can go like a dance. His moveset invites you to get in sync with him. Plus, I really like his music. He might be my favorite boss in the game. Anyway, my point is, he's very difficult. But with the right build, you can kill him in seconds. A pure magic build using Comet Azure and the Cerulean Hidden Tear will delete him, and that same combo will work for a huge number of the bosses in the game. It lets you basically circumvent these bosses, circumvent their mechanics, really not deal with them at all. It doesn't work on every boss, but it works on a lot of them. And for the ones that it doesn't work on, you'll still have a lot of powerful spells that will let you have an easier time of those bosses than you would if you were using a normal melee build. Now, does the fact that you can delete Mogh in less than 30 seconds mean that he's easy? Is Elden Ring easy because a lot of these bosses will succumb to that same strategy? In my opinion, no. And it doesn't mean that it's poorly balanced either. At best, you can make the argument that this specific thing that you're talking about is poorly balanced. As far as I can tell, the complaint being levied at Armored Core is that if you use the strongest things in a game, the game is a lot easier than if you don't use the strongest things in the game. Now, let me tell you why I didn't mention the tank treads or the dual Gatlings or the songbird grenade launchers. And this will lead me to my second point. It is because I didn't know. I decided I wanted to play with a lightweight mech, and I've been playing with a lightweight mech pretty much the entire time I've been playing. I want it to be a light, melee-oriented build. I do a lot of customization and tuning to that mech, but my goals are to make the mech more effective or stronger or better at dealing with specific situations, while remaining within the confines of still being a lightweight mech. And my build simply didn't have room for heavy grenade launchers or Gatling guns. When I'm playing a game for the first time, I don't look things up. I'm not interested in what the community has decided are the best builds or the best weapons. I want to go in, figure things out on my own, and then relay my experience in videos. Let's go back and look at that comment that I showed you before. The commenter says that it's a universally agreed upon criticism that these weapons are overpowered and make everything else obsolete. And my question to people making this complaint is, first of all, how do you know that? Why do you know that it's a universally agreed upon complaint? If you're like video game Dunkey, and you're fiddling with your mech and you happen to make a build that's overpowered, and that overpowered build makes your game less fun, makes it too easy and mindless, and it's so effective that you have trouble tearing yourself away from using it, then you know what? Yeah, I agree with you. That's not good. That's bad. But I have a suspicion that most of the people making that complaint didn't discover this on their own. In order for you to know that it's a universally agreed upon criticism, less than a week after the game's released, is because you've been looking at forums. You have been engaging in discussions where they talk about what's most effective. I don't believe that these people all discovered it on their own. There is probably a significant chunk of them that went looking for what's the most powerful things, and then having used the most powerful things, are now dissatisfied with their experience. Now, all of that said, let's get back to the main point. Are these weapons and builds overpowered? Are they disproportional to the other kinds of builds that you can make, and will lead to a poorly balanced experience? Yeah, probably. These people are probably right. I still haven't used them, and now I'm less inclined to, but it is likely the case that these builds and weapons are disproportionately strong. The ideal situation in Armored Core, I think, is that you'll have different mech types, and these different types will struggle against different things. And that when you come up against something that's tough, you can ease the burden on yourself by making adjustments to your mech. And so if people have made these tank tread builds, and there's nothing in the game that's encouraging them to switch it up even slightly, that's not good. And if that's what's happening, I hope that From Software addresses it in balance patches in the near future. But whether they are or not, I'm not sure that makes all the other builds obsolete. I certainly didn't feel obsolete with my lightweight mech throughout the whole game. The biggest hurdle for me was at the Chapter 4 boss. I got really stuck there. But with minimal adjustments, I came up with a solution. I made a mech that dealt with the problem, without resorting to going to a different style of mech completely. My fast melee-oriented mech could deal with that boss in seconds. That really doesn't look obsolete to me. If some things in the game are overpowered, then fine, they're overpowered. I hope From Software brings out some patches to balance those overpowered things. But I don't think that means that the game is easy, or the combat mindless. It might just mean that you happened upon a particularly easy and mindless way to play. And if you went out looking for overpowered things and found them, then this is a self-inflicted problem, and not one that's being universally shared by all players. Anyway, that's the end of this video. As always, thank you very much for watching.